So I get asked all the time, Randy, what camera should I buy? At this point, it does not matter what camera you buy. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about why the camera really doesn't matter as a filmmaker or photographer. So let's get it. Now, just a disclaimer, I do own some really high-end cameras. I have an FX6, that's what I'm shooting on right now. It's the Sony FX6, and I have a Lumix S5 2X. So take that how you will. But in this video, I'm definitely gonna tell you guys why I think camera matters, but it really does not matter. So first and foremost, the camera is just a tool, just like the lights that I'm using. All of these things are just tools to get the job done. Now, I hear the argument where, a professional carpenter would use a $2,000 hammer versus somebody who doesn't do it, and they would use like a $20 hammer or a $5 hammer. Now, granted, more expensive cameras, you do get a lot more with it. But if you're somebody who's just starting out, do you really need 16 plus stops of dynamic range? Do you need 422 10-bit? If you don't know what these things are, then you don't need to be focusing on cameras. You need to be focusing on your craft. Because I see all the time, I see people with really nice cameras that have a red V-Raptor Double XL, or they have the Sony FX6, or they have whatever, and their footage looks awful. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter what camera you have. If you don't know how to use the camera, it doesn't matter. So learn your craft. And then when you start to understand and when you start to get to the place where your camera is holding you back, then you can upgrade and look into more high-end cameras. Now let's talk about limitations. Now, if you're somebody you grew in your career as a filmmaker or a photographer, and now this camera is giving you limitations. Like, for example, I like to push and pull my colors in post. So for me, having 10-bit was a big deal. And then having a camera with really good dynamic range was a big deal for me. Now, as far as like sensor size and all that stuff, it really doesn't matter. And autofocus. So if you're somebody who rely on autofocus, then yeah. But I always tell people, when you're starting out, learn how to pull focus. Get really good at focusing, and then you can, if you want to rely on autofocus later, that's great. But if you start off on autofocus and something happens and you have to pull focus, you're gonna mess up, and you're gonna be punching yourself for not learning how to pull focus. Now let's talk about the technical aspects of these cameras. Do you need 4K, 8K, 6K, 12K, whatever? To be honest, most people can't even tell the difference between 1080, 2K, 4K, 8K, 12K, 6K, whatever. Most people can't even tell the difference. Honestly, nobody can really tell the difference unless you look at the specs on the camera. Now, the benefits of having high resolutions is reframing in post. A lot of times when I shoot 6K open gate on my Lumix, it's great to punch in and punch out. Like right now I'm shooting in 4K. So if I need to, I have a lot of room to scale in and scale out. You have to know, like, I don't shoot everything in 4K or 6K, whatever, but if you know you want to punch in and punch out and reframe and post, then yeah, shoot at the higher frame rates. But you also have to think about the space that comes with it, because the more expensive, higher end the camera is, if that makes sense, the more space you got to deal with. So if you get a nice cinema camera, just know you're gonna need cards that are fast enough to record to, and these SD cards and CF Express cards are not cheap, and you need the hard drive space. So yes, I want a camera, but you have to be prepared for what comes with that camera. Now let's talk about, what camera should I get? There's a saying that us filmmakers say is, marry the lens and date the body. I tell people all the time, I am not loyal to any camera brand. I will sell my FX6 tomorrow and get a Blackmagic Pixel 12K and be perfectly fine. To me, it's not the camera. To me, it's more so the lens. So you can have a really nice lens on an okay camera and still get an amazing image, because the first thing that your image see is the lens. So I'm recording a video, so everything is going through the lens first, and the lens is sending the sensor whatever the lens is seeing, right? So if I have a crappy lens on a $6,000 camera, then yeah, it's gonna look okay, it's gonna look good. But if I had a really good lens on a good camera, then yeah, now we're talking. Now, if you have a really good lens on an okay camera, you're still gonna get an amazing image. And at the end of the day, it's all about your lighting, camera settings, and composition and storytelling. So now let's talk about the post-production aspect. If you get a high-end camera, just know you have to have, again, I said the hard drive space for it, but you also have to have the computer that can handle the files that come off of these bigger cameras. So I know like Blackmagic files are heavy. And if you're shooting 12K or whatever, you need the space, you need the computer to handle what these cameras are giving you. So if you're gonna shoot these high bit rates and high frame rates and all that, then you definitely need the computer that can handle that type of stuff. Now let's talk about budget. You know, higher end cameras may offer better dynamic range, better color depth and all those things. But if your lighting is off, if the storytelling is bad, the acting is bad, and the writing is horrible, all those things, it doesn't matter what camera you use. The movie or project that you're shooting is gonna be horrible. So always learn the craft and get really good at the craft, and then worry about cameras, or what camera should I get? I wanna get a camera. I need to buy a camera. That's cool. Everybody wants a nice camera. But I'm telling you, you can get the FX6 today and you know, footage would be horrible. Like, I've seen beginners with an FX6 and the footage did not come out great. It looked horrible. But you give a professional an FX6, or any camera for the matter, no matter what camera you give me or my fellow DPs or camera operators, they are going to make magic, because it's not the camera, it's the person using the camera. Again, cameras are just tools. Now, I can understand the sentiment for people when they say, you know, having a nice camera, because if I show up to a client shoot with an FX6 versus, you know, my Lumix S5 IIX, where just the body and the lens, clients have a different perception. Oh, he has the big boy camera. He takes this serious. Now, we know that's not true, but a lot of clients, they don't know. So they will see a nice camera and a really big fat light dome and all these lights. I'm like, oh, he's the real deal. He's the best person I ever worked with. And this is why I always, depending on the job, well, most jobs, if I'm using my Lumix, I always rig out the Lumix with the top handle, the matte box, the side handle, and the V-mount plate, all that stuff. I always rig out my Lumix because of the perception, client perception. And when I bring my FX6, it's like, oh man, what is that? That camera's, you know, it's an amazing camera. So definitely, if you're into the commercial space, then, you know, if you have a cheaper camera, like, because the S5 IIX is only what, $1,800 right now? Rig it out, spend the extra $200 and rig it out. And people are gonna think you have a $5,000-$6,000 camera. I can't tell you how many people stopped me when I was on a client shoot. What camera is that? That's a really expensive camera. No, it's under $2,000. But I made it look expensive because of client perception. This is why I would say camera does matter. If you're somebody who wants to shoot film, like if you want to do film photography or shoot an actual film camera for photography or video, then that film look has just a certain sweetness that digital don't really have. Now, granted, there's a ton of LUTs and color grading, and you got Dehancer software plugin and other plugins to make it look more filmic. If you add Pro Mist filters, and you can add halation and post and all that stuff. But you get really, really close to get that filmic, that film look, but you're not gonna really get that film vibe. And that's what camera matters. Now, if you're gonna shoot film, you gotta be committed. So that's a whole other ball game for the OGs who be shooting film, you know, the big directors like your Steven Spielbergs and stuff. They like film. Now, when looking for a camera, look at what you need in a camera, right? I say this all the time. Are you somebody who likes to shoot a lot of sports photography or videography? So if you shoot sports photography, look at a camera with really great autofocus and really good burst modes. If you don't know what burst mode is when you hold the trigger and you could take like 100 photos in 1 second, you know? But look at cameras that have really good burst modes and really good autofocus. Also great in-body stabilization. And cameras, like, again, back in the sports world, something that doesn't have a really slow rolling shutter, because rolling shutter is when the image is doing all this. And then also with sports, you want to get something that shoots 120 frames per second. Now you have to look in is it going to shoot 4K 120 uncropped, or is it going to shoot 4K 20 cropped, or just caps at 1080 120. But these are all the things you gotta look at. You know, you have to know exactly what you like to do and exactly what you want to shoot. Now, if you want to get into filmmaking and make movies, then you don't really need 120 and all these crazy frame rates. Me personally, I am a firm believer of keeping everything at 24 or 23.98, but that's just me. And then also looking at whether or not you need built-in NDs in your camera, if that's going to be a benefit for you. But if you're watching this video, then 9 times out of 10, you're in your beginning stages, so you don't really know if you need NDs or why you even need ND filters, or even know how to use ND filters. But if you're interested in that, I have a video on ND filters and why you should use them. Now, here's a saying that we all say: the best camera is the one that you have. So if all you have is your phone, listen, cell phones nowadays shoot amazing footage for putting stuff on YouTube or social media, Instagram, whatever. If you have a phone and you can't afford a camera, start making short films with your phone. You can get some really inexpensive microphones, you can get some really inexpensive lights, and some really inexpensive tripods for your phone for, you know, probably under $200, maybe cheaper if you're really trying to budget. But you want to get started, start using your phone. iPhones and, you know, all these new phones, they have like 3-4 cameras on the phone, 3-4 lenses on the phone. So you got the 3 lenses, and you can get the Blackmagic app. The Blackmagic app is phenomenal. So if you are somebody who's using your phone, get the Blackmagic app. You can look at people like Landon from Full Time Filmmaker. He has a whole thing on how to shoot on your phone, and check that out. I don't know if the course is free or you gotta pay for it, but definitely check it out. There's so much knowledge out there, so there's really no excuse on not getting better in filmmaking. Just go out and shoot, man. Listen, just me doing videos like this is practice. It's practice for setting up lights, doing new things, setting up different angles, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that's all I got. So the best camera is the one that you have, and the camera is just a tool. So if I added any value at all in this video, definitely consider liking, subscribing, and leave a comment. Let me know what camera you're using, or your dream camera, or what camera you're thinking about buying next. So yeah, let's get it. Peace.